really going to share something with them. So something to keep in mind is that I'm 22, so almost the same age as most of you, and so I don't know anything. I'm just sharing my experiences. So this wonderful world of entrepreneurship, what is it? By the end of today, or in my little session, I hope I can convince you that entrepreneurship does not mean starting a company. So I wasn't sure if this picture was cute or creepy. I think it's a little bit of both. But I want to raise your hand if you think you want to be an entrepreneur. I should be the right audience. Raise your hand if you want to start a company. Okay, so most people. So I'm here to tell you today that starting a company does not mean an entrepreneur, and being an entrepreneur does not mean starting a company. So yesterday, actually, or a few days ago, the application Net 36 were due, and tons of my friends came to me and said, what do I do with my application? I don't have anything entrepreneurial. I haven't started a company. They kind of look like that. And everyone's freaking out the fact they don't have a company. And they were like 21, 20, 22. And I was like, so I really don't like the fact they're saying, I don't have a company does not make me an entrepreneur, or just the fact that I need to have a company to become an entrepreneur. So in Net 36, the way we define entrepreneurship is this. The relentless pursuit of opportunity without regards to resources currently controlled. It's a mouthful, we have to memorize it. It's in the back of our t-shirts. And I'm gonna break this definition down a little bit to see what each word means. But just know that there's no mention here about starting a company or doing anything actually. It's a mindset, not activity. But before we do that, so how many of you know what YC is? And if you want to be an entrepreneur, like, you should know what a YC is. YC is basically the Harvard of entrepreneurship, or actually even more prestige than that. Dropbox came out of YC, Airbnb came out of YC, so lots of big companies you know right now came out of YC. So YC is actually putting on this course that's happening literally right now called How to Start a Startup by its president Sam. And his whole entire first class was talking about why none of them should be entrepreneurs and why you should not start companies. And he was teaching his whole class about how to start a startup at Stanford. His main thing is that entrepreneurship has been very overglorified. Everybody wants this crazy life entrepreneur, be a Mark Zuckerberg or whoever it is, but in reality, there are all the things you don't know about entrepreneurship. That's actually what his class is about. So I encourage you to definitely check it out. All his lectures are online, and he shares a lot of great wisdom. But the first thing he says, don't be an entrepreneur, because it's a horrible, horrible life, and I can attest to that. And one of the things that he says very often, like one of the first things, why we want to be entrepreneurs. One of his, I want freedom, I want to be my own boss, I think it's super, super cool. And he's like, well, guess what? You're a CEO, everyone else is your boss. And I've never had more bosses than I had now. Not just your employees, but your users, your investors, anyone that's affected by you, and you are accountable to them. So a story I'd like to share is the first time I realized, shit, it's real. As an entrepreneur through the Net 36 program. So we started a company. Like every company, we were doing really well, and it was a very technical company. So what we were doing is building a data processing software for scientists. Super, super technical, and we needed interns to help us to move the product forward. So we actually hired Waterloo, so apparently it's the best school. And we hired these interns, like you guys know all about job line. We hired these interns back in February, we were doing super well, everything, and then mid-April comes around, and they were supposed to start in May. And you guys know how job line works. If you get one offer, you stick with this offer kind of thing, right? So it was about mid-April that our investor came up and said to us, hey, we don't think you're doing a good enough job, and we want to take your money back. Which is like, what do you mean we're not doing a good enough job, and kind of thing, like, what can we do to do this better? And like, you gave us money, we have money on our bank account, we already hired people with this money, we committed this money. And he's like, yeah, I don't care, you're not showing the results we expect. At the same time, we know, so we kind of knew that, but we need these people to help us to show those results. And we're just like, we already committed to 2 interns. One of them was flying from New Brunswick, and actually already signed a lease in Toronto, and all these people had other job offers they turned down. We had over 220 people apply for this job. And he said, well, deal with it. We fired people before we even hired them. And these 2 students, and there was no job, and this was like mid-April, your co-op starts in May. And it was one of the most horrible experiences we had to go through, but that's when like shit got real. The other experience I'd like to share on this is, our current company is called Blink, and actually a little plug here, download Blink on your apps. It's available on Android, iOS, BLYNK. But so basically what we want to do is a personal stylist. The way it works, like we call it our Tinder for fashion. You swipe left if you don't like, swipe right if you do like, and then based on that, we give you out the recommendations. It was meant for people who weren't necessarily all fashion enthusiastic and people who just wanted a better fashion sense. And we weren't really sure who our users were, but it was really about the recommendation. We were building an engine of recommendations. So about 3 months now, 4 months later, we're talking to the user, thinking about our next steps, and people don't seem to care about recommendations. Like, we put all this work into giving us great recommendations, and people just want to swipe through pictures without caring about what we recommend them. Really much like Tinder. But it just shows you actually answer to everyone else, and you don't actually make the decision by yourself. So after this definition, they'll split into words by word. The first word is relentless. What does that mean? For me, relentless means kind of being crazy. And people say entrepreneurs are crazy. Yeah, we kind of are. And you kind of have to be. What I mean by that, so like I said, I'm a Queen's graduate. I'm a Queen's Commerce graduate just a few months ago, and I did graduate at the top of my class, and like I have a typical Queen's background, all that kind of stuff. I was supposed to say I'm staying in a room, but I'm not even staying in a room. I have this area in someone else's apartment that's blocked out by 2 shelves and a curtain, and that's my room. I like my lunch was around $5, and I had officially downgraded from Starbucks to Timmy's. That's when you know shit's hard. That's when you're living the entrepreneurial life, and it is a crazy life. My 3 best friends in Queens, one's an iBanker, one's a management consultant, and one worked at literally 9 to 5. Like she leaves at 5:01 kind of thing. And I was like, the person who leaves 9 to 5, like, what do you do at 6:01 or 5 or 2? I was like, and the people who make so much money, like, what do you do with so much money? But in the end, I wouldn't trade my life for theirs because I love what I'm doing, and I have so much, like, yeah. So you have to be crazy to accept that. Second part of it is you have to really believe in your idea. Relentless pursue your idea. Most of the people are going to tell you no. Most people are not going to give you investment. Like it's a horrible world out there. But you just have to be crazy enough to really believe it works. We were building software to scientists that were saying we're going to save you 80% time. And these people have like 2-3 PhDs. And we had a student in our group that was going to get a PhD. And we were telling them we can solve your problem. You really, again, have to be crazy. Second part is pursue opportunities. So for me, opportunity means problems. And I think this is something that people get wrong. Entrepreneurs don't pursue ideas, they pursue problems. And so you guys already done this, so you're on step 1. Fall in love with the problem, not your solution. Best advice I've ever got to be an entrepreneur. Ideas change, solutions change. If the problem's there, the opportunity exists. So a lot of people thought, I have this really cool idea, it's going to change the world. And then if you start with the idea, you're really fitting into a problem. If you start with the problem, things will work out, and the opportunity will be there. And problems are everywhere. Like we deal with problems every day. I think the best type of opportunity to pursue is a problem that you know yourself. With our first idea was basically something that we experience every day as scientists, or my co-founder was scientists, and that's what we're good for. If you can if you can have a problem that you and 10 other people experience, that's something you need to pursue. The second thing is pursuit. You can't have a definition of entrepreneurship without some type of action. This action is just really getting shit done. And it comes down to what entrepreneurs do. We get shit done. And the shit could be anything, literally. Like it could be like doing whatever it takes. Or so we put stuff on our board saying, hey, we need to get 30 sales this month, or we need to get 30 downloads, or whatever it is. And it's like, we can't get 30 scientists to say yes in like 2 weeks. Like you have nothing there, but like we'll make it happen. If you need an introduction to see the whole run through, I have no idea how to do that. But I'll make it happen. So it's just attitude of getting shit done and just making things happen. That makes us different. So opportunities are everywhere, problems are everywhere. The difference between an entrepreneur and someone who doesn't become an entrepreneur is doing something about it. Without. You live without for more than with. Like I said, I live without a door right now. But not just resources, information, support, groups, social life, sleep, but everything. You will never have all the resources you need. So I'm very fortunate to come up with Next 36. It's probably the most resource-intensive program there is in Canada. That we get access to a lot of resources, and it's still not enough. We still don't have all the information we need, and you have to be good with that. You have to be comfortable with never ever having enough, because you just won't. And living through and still being okay with it. So the last part of this is resources currently controlled. Yeah, I'll go this by word. Starting with control. So I think I've explained that you're never in control of anything you think you are. Your users, I think, are one thing is what's in control. Your investors are in control. You are never in control. Again, this is the risk part of entrepreneurship. If you like to have a stable life, be an accountant, don't be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is the worst thing you do for your stable mentality. Currently, things are literally changing every single day. And that's what's exciting about working with a startup or being an entrepreneur. Things are always changing. So, but what that also means is that if you've been working days and nights, so this actually happened to our intern, I feel really bad for this, but she's been working days and nights on this whole new project on trying to close like close brands for our partnership. And she actually closed like 5-6 brands, which is like really amazing. And then we go to her and say, hey, we're actually gonna be a consumer app now, and don't really care about brands anymore. And this happens all the time. Like, it's more so you have to be okay with doing a lot of things and try to pursue it, but be able to change at a moment's notice, because that's the life of an entrepreneur. And resources. So, yeah, like I said, resources are super important. You never have enough of it. People are going to be like, you need money, you need to know people, you need ideas, you need all these things. But what you really need to be is you need to be resourceful. You need to know so seed capital is what you basically raise when you first start. We got, I think, $5,000 seed capital. Some people, you can survive without $500 for a very, very long time. More so, being resourceful is time. So when you ask for introduction, so we had a meeting with the vice chairman of Hudson McCann. We had a meeting with the CEO of Paul Renfrew. So we got those meetings. And when someone like that standard gives you a meeting, it's 30 minutes. It's never more than 30 minutes. What can you get done in 30 minutes? And that's called being resourceful. And then the other part is 3 minutes. All our 36 pitches are 3 minutes. All our investor pitches, 3 minutes. And last part, 30 seconds. When you just meet someone randomly at a networking event, you have 30 seconds to get the most out you can out of that thing. That's extreme resourcefulness. So yeah, being an entrepreneur means being more than crazy. But again, it's a mindset. It's personality. It's how you make decisions. It's how you approach a situation. It's never about starting a company or working for a company or starting anything really. So what I think really makes entrepreneurs, a couple of things. One, be crazy, but what that really means is dreaming big. We all have really big, ambitious dreams. And one of the things that we are always told is that if your dream doesn't scare the shit out of you every day, you're not dreaming big enough. Not being afraid of failure. So this, I think, what we call here is like the Canadian mentality. Failure is this really scary thing that's about end your career and just like, I don't want to fail. That's human nature to not want to fail. But you have to be okay with it. And every successful entrepreneur you have talked to have failed. And actually, I'm going to share some of my failures as well. And but with failures, also we said, if everybody fails, and if you haven't failed, that means you haven't tried hard enough. And you haven't tried big enough. The third part of this, I think, is being not okay with status quo, not settling for anything. So you have all these problems that you see on the board. You have global warming, you have poverty, you have all these great things that we know there's so many problems with this. And entrepreneurs don't settle. And we do have solutions. We have different types of solutions, but we're not okay with the solutions out there. And we want to be innovative. And one of this part is just not following rules. Entrepreneurs are the worst people to follow rules. So I graduated from Queen's Commerce in 4 years without being in school for 20 months. And you can ask me later how I did that, but yeah, just if you want something to happen, you make it happen. You don't care about rules. So the other part is really being able to make shit happen. So like anybody can, if I tell you to do something, I'm sure you guys are capable enough of doing whatever it is you're told. But it's when you don't know how to do something, or when you don't even know where to start. It's how do you find a way? How do you bend rules to make sure what needs to get done, you find a way to get it done. Passion, I think, again, we're all crazy. There's some kind of rationality to this craziness, and we're all passionate about something. It could be about your idea, it could be about your team, it could be just the fact that you want to do something really big, but at least there's something here that's about passion. And then I think, lastly, it will just be okay with uncertainty, being okay with uncomfort, so being able to step out of your comfort zone. And if you have these characteristics, and actually you like these characteristics about yourself, you are an entrepreneur. Again, entrepreneurs could be 5-year-olds, could be 10 years old, could be 95-year-olds. It's about the kind of mindset that you have. So I think most of you, so some people are saying, oh, this all sounds great. I still want to be an entrepreneur. What do I do to get started? So there's some very practical advice that I'm only just 2-3 years older than you guys, or not even. Very practical advice on what to do if you're actually interested in this. Number one, most importantly, be part of the ecosystem. So you guys are very lucky to be at UW. So as much as I love Queens, if I had to choose a university again, one of my kind of regrets would be not coming to Waterloo. Waterloo is the place for entrepreneurship in Canada. And not the fact that I know that, Silicon Valley knows that, investors know that, hiring manager know that. So take advantage of what you have here. I know earlier you guys have heard someone from Communitech or from the Velocity. Yes, there's just so many great things happening here. You have great companies coming out. Thermic Labs actually also came out next 36. So like a lot of really great companies are based here in Waterloo. For me, what means being part of the ecosystem is first know what's going on, be able to know like about events, about startups, about whatever is happening in the ecosystem. 2 is having support, and 3 more so being able to meet the right type of people. So Link would never be where it is today without Net 36. And we're now part of the Digital Media Zone, which is basically incubator in Toronto. There's about 80-something startups in there, and I love it. And it's like, if I were to start another startup, or if I work somewhere in Toronto, I have to make sure the startup, or I would part of DMZ, otherwise I won't do it. Because being on a DMZ means that you have 80 other crazy people with you all the time, working nights and days, and if you ever need anything, these people will help you, and these people will tell you where to go. Joke is another great one. Again, there's tons of things going on, and if you don't want to do something like super, like you don't want to jump in right away, go to events. So Startup Weekend, great thing. Hackathons, again, I guess I just had Hack North a few weeks ago. Really, really great events like that, and even it's like fireside chat, Startup Wine. If you're living in Toronto, there's literally an event every single day. And I say that because I actually go to them every single day. Very practically, how do you find out about these events? Go on Twitter and meetup.com. So I'm a huge fan of Twitter. I don't actually tweet that much, but Twitter's helped me find a job, and it has helped me win $100,000. So a quick story there, basically, Blink won the first place at the International Startup Festival. And the only reason I actually went to this festival and that winning that came was $100,000 was because there was a contest on Twitter giving away a free ticket. So that's literally the only reason I went. If I didn't have a free ticket, I wouldn't go. If I didn't go, we wouldn't have $100,000, and we probably wouldn't have all the press coverage and all the media lockdowns and everything that we have now. So Twitter's great. Use Twitter. Second part. If anybody asks me, what is the #1 lesson you learned through Net 36 or through life or anything, it'd be that. It's about the people and not the idea. And you talk to investors, so investors are really good at this. It's always about the team, always about the people. So I, again, have personal experiences on this as well. You can spend all the time you want executing a great idea, and the team doesn't work out. The stats in Y-Com they gave us was 90% of startups fail because of team issues. My first startup failed because of team issues. And there's nothing wrong with the idea that we had. The team didn't work out. And if you have a really great team, it doesn't actually matter what you do. Your idea could be crap, but people like you switch ideas. Ideas change all the time, people don't. So the reason there's a Valentine thing here is that it is very much like marriage. Like you just think about this. We work 80 to 100 hours a week. Other than sleeping, you're literally with your co-founder all the time. You really do have to have this unconditional love, whatever that is. But you're with them with the ups and downs. They're the reason you get up every morning, and they're the reason you go to sleep every night as well. And when you're going through hard challenges and you don't know if this is the right thing to do, you don't know where to go next, your co-founder and people who are there for you. So this is not only about co-founders, it's also about like, your team in general. And I've always said, like I'm in the principle of like servant leadership. Your team is the reason you exist, and you just have to surround yourself with great people. What can you do now? So start trying to look for ideas. Even today, you might meet a potential co-founder today. And just start working with different people. So the one caution I have here is that great friends don't necessarily make great co-founders, and vice versa. And great co-founders doesn't necessarily mean great friends. I'll share 2 stories here. So Bob, my first startup, the one that we're doing for scientists, I started this with one of my best friends. We've known each other for 5 years since like high school. We actually started another thing together that, before, and like I knew this guy, he knew me, and we had another third co-founder as well. He ended up ditching my team. He ended up quitting on me, and it didn't work out. And so I learned from that experience that like, so we're actually all on good terms, we're still friends, which is good, and kind of rare actually, but it's hard. Just because you're friends and get along doesn't mean you're great co-founders. And so the other guy on our team that, I never met this guy until we through the Net36 program, he and I got along great. And I had no idea about this guy before the Net36. So even before that, so in grade 12, I said my first business I started in grade 12. I started something called Science Expo. And we started with 5 friends, and my co-founder was actually my actual best friend. Like, the person I went to high school with, the person that was on my science fair project, and like I was so excited to do this with her. Barely talked to me. And it's not something I want to brag about, but it's just the truth. So I think I learned from that experience that, so I had to fire one of my best friends in Science Expo. It was one of the hardest things I had to do. And it's really how you separate personal and business life. So one thing I think I learned through Net36, which is why we're on great terms, is that every decision you make has to be in the best interest of the business. It's not about you. Again, it's never about you. It's about the business. But how you handle every situation, that's all you. So one thing I said like in the earlier intern story that I mentioned, we had to fire 2 Waterloo co students before they even got a chance to work with us. But on the same day, we made sure both of them had 2 job interviews lined up on the same day. How we handle the situation is how we treat people as friends, but the decision you do make is what has to be in the best interest of the business. So 3, no one moves your needle. What I mean is, so in startup world, the key word you have to know here is metrics. Everyone talks about metrics, measure this, and then you don't even know your metric. You just measure everything, just do it. And then when investors ask for them, at least you have numbers to show them. But one of the advice we were given is that know the key metric. Is it good that we have more users? Or is it good that we have active users? Or is it good with new downloads? Or is it good that we have friend referrals? So whatever it is, find out one thing that moves your needle, moves your company, and every decision you make in your company is based on that one thing. Does it add new users? And so let's say the metric was a total activity. So I don't actually care if we have new users. Maybe we just need the user to come back more often. And maybe it's about retention rather than acquisition. So whatever that thing is, all your decisions based on that. And I need to know this is for you internally as a person as well. And this is also where my co-founder and I had disagreements. For me, at least at the stage I'm in right now, it's about learning. All the decisions I make is what helps me learn more. And in terms of having this metric or having this thing what moves your needle also helps you measure your success. Next point. So I had this image, I did this talk about 2 years ago as well, and I had the same image. I said 3 keys to success in social entrepreneurship. And today when I saw the slide, I was like, haha, that's so funny, keys to success. I hate this whole like 3 steps to success, 10 things you must have to do. There's not one way you can achieve success. And like if people tell you, it's just one way. It's not the only way. So I don't read those profit magazine entrepreneurship anymore because I don't believe in them. So there's define your own success. What makes you tick? What makes you get up in the morning? And this is going to change throughout time as well. So for me, it was, again, learning. But how do I make the greatest impact in the shortest amount of time? I'm a super impatient person, and I just wanted, so I could do my startup without Net36, and maybe I should have. But Net36 accelerates your growth. And it just, you get there faster. And that's, for me, that's important as well. I want to make that impact as quickly as I can. But, so I'm also part of this movement called the CEO. So the CEOs are women entrepreneurs identified as people who have a new way of thinking into all problems. So as a CEO, one of the most fundamental things we learn is what is your version of success? And I think in this, sorry about the male, but in this male-dominated world, success is valued for as big as possible. It's getting as much money as you can. So in startup world, it's about how many fund can you raise. That's number 1. How many employees do you have? How many users do you have? And how much revenue do you have? What if I don't want to grow my company? What if I want to keep it so that I have a good work-life balance? What if I don't need to be the next Facebook? I actually am happy with like having a few $1 million versus hundreds of $1 millions. Like for me, that additional, does that actually make a difference? Like I'm totally happy. If I could make a few $1 million, I'd be really, really happy actually, but I can't yet. So it's really knowing what makes you tick. What is your own definition of success? And lastly, this is my personal one, it's travel. So I spent, again, I was away from Queens a lot. I spent 60 months traveling to 25 countries. And everything I've learned in my life could probably keep me those 60 months. Traveling puts you into, so when I say travel, I don't mean family vacations or like any, okay, if you're traveling, don't stay in a hotel. That's like one, I kind of more so backpacking kind of thing. When you're a student living abroad and you really don't have money, you make things work. And that's where the fun comes in. I have so many travel stories I can share, but I won't yet. But what traveling makes you do is it puts you in very uncomfortable and unfamiliar situations. And you have to see how you deal with that. Traveling means finding out what your purpose is and what your why is. So one quick thing is that I went to Vietnam completely by myself. So before I started going to Vietnam, I bought a return ticket from one side of the country to the other side of the country for 10 days in a backpack. And I got a visa and I left the next day. I didn't have anything in between planned. I didn't even know how to get from one side of the country to the other side. And I didn't know how much they didn't speak English in that country. So normally what you do, or what I do when I get to a country is like Google how to get from the train station to the hostel kind of thing, and Google Map, and street view it, because like there's no English. People don't speak English, so you have to street view things. And I like draw little maps. But anyways, in Vietnam, transportation not that great. So took a cab, nobody speaks English in Vietnam, so that's one thing. I took a cab and showed them my address in my hostel, and then got in a cab, and then the cab stopped, which I assume you get off. I got off, and they dropped me in front of a fish market. And I was like, I don't think this is the right place. But the cab driver's already left by then. And again, I didn't know anything in this country. This is the first time probably I didn't do research before I go to a country. I was in front of a fish market. Like, it was raining. And I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And that's, I think, when you realize these situations, how you handle that situation, like, I think a lot of things I learned from being an entrepreneur comes from that situations like that. We're in a very uncomfortable, how do you get yourself out of this mess? Like, we do this in Starboard every day. We have users, we have questions, we have investors questions on this, but what do you do in that situation? So I did what everybody else, I went to ask some Vietnamese people like where to go, and again, they don't speak English. So find a place that has a Wi-Fi. Answer to everything. So it not just really puts yourself in like uncomfortable situation, it forces you to step outside your comfort zone, and it teaches you like basically it really opens your mind. So and like it's kind of cliche to say because like traveling opens up your mind, but what I really realized in my situation, so when I went to the Netherlands, I was in Frank's house because the museum, it was a tourist destination, and like it's something you have to go anyways. And like you go because it's cool, right? You go to Anne Frank's house, it's pretty cool. But the way they set it up was actually you experience the life of Anne. When you see where she was hiding, you see how tall she grew, and you see like what Washington, you live in her house. And I think the museum is very well done that way. And that's when you realize like shit, like I wouldn't want to be her. I'm so fortunate and lucky to be where I am today. And that really does open up your mind to a lot of like, new situations. And like, even also, I spent 8 months in Paris, and I got to know the startup world there, and actually want to go back to Berlin, because Berlin is a great ecosystem of startups. But I think traveling is when you have time to reflect, what is your why? Why are you doing everything you're doing? And like, do you really want to do it? So I decided to be an entrepreneur. I decided to do Net 36 while I was traveling. I decided to get a full-time recruiting while I was traveling, because you have those moments where just like, what the hell am I doing here? And then those are the moments where I think the light bulbs go off to find out your why. So yeah, I think that's actually I have one more slide. Oh, the slide's up here. There's a slide. Okay. Well, I guess I was going to kind of show you guys my background. So I want most of this to be a question answer period, because like I said, I'm only a few years older than you guys. I was in your shoes 2 years ago. But my background, so I started my own first company. It's called Science Expo. It was a student-run nonprofit that started back in high school in Guelph, and now today is a national organization that has chapters in BC and Alberta, and I'm still very active in Evolve 5 years later. I worked in Malaysia at a startup called Glasses Online, where I managed and set up the entire distribution of an e-commerce site managing eyewear. And what was really cool about that was, first, it was in Malaysia. 2, it was it kind of gave everything I learned in terms of actually like business knowledge came from that experience where instead of being treated like an intern, so I was an intern, I was a 4-month intern, I had meetings with CEOs of Breakman. And the things that I wasn't listening to that meeting and just taking notes, I was running that meeting. And I got to go to a business to Australia to close supplier deals. I set up the entire distribution network, starting from like 7 suppliers to over 50 suppliers in a period of 4 months, and that really gave me what it's like to work for a startup. I was also working like 80 to 100 hours a week and getting paid $500 a month. So keep that in mind as well. So I tried and I also tried the corporate life in Beijing. So I worked in Beijing, working in Red Bull, and doing marketing, and then doing Accenture consulting. So I wanted to see how much I hated it, and I actually did hate it. So then I came back to do NEC 36. Within NEC 36, I started 2 companies. The first one was Bond, which is the science one that I started with my friends. Both of them quit on me and ditched the company, and I had no scientific background. And that's my first big fail of startup. And then my second one is Blink, which is the one I'm doing right now. Blink is a personalized status in your pocket. It's like Tinder for fashion. I already did this pitch, but basically, this company is still running now. We are 3-4 people. We have over 10,000 downloads over 3 months. We raised over $100,000, actually $165,000, and we've been covered in anything from Toronto Star, Huffington Post, Tech Vibes. Like we've been covering a lot of places, TV and all that stuff. And this one's really, really successful as well. So I think with that experience, I'm a graduate from Queen Commerce. Like I said, I just graduated in 2014. So again, really not that old. Want to take this chance and definitely do you have any questions? Please do ask some questions because I think the best way you learn is by asking questions. My info's up there. Get in touch whatever you need, and thank you guys for listening.
So does anyone have any questions right now?
How did you say you finished your degree while being away from school for 20 months?
It's called bending the rules. So first and second year at Queen Commerce, third year, also go to exchange, but exchange is only 1 semester. I just decided to go a full year. And then the summer, I had a job offer back in Canada, but decided to go to Malaysia. I just got a travel bug and I just really didn't want to go out to Queen. So what I did in fourth year is that I took online classes and just didn't come to school in my country. And then I went back to my exam and then finished last semester.
Do you feel that you learn more business skills related to running a startup from your degree program, or more from just experiencing it and trying it out and learning from that?
I don't know if you learn anything from the degree program. No offense, but actually, I think you learn how to study and so okay. My degree program set me up for being a corporate a consultant. And if I was a consultant or iBanker, my degree was useful for being an entrepreneur. You learn everything on the job. So with NEC 36, most people were not business students. They had no business knowledge, and that's why we had Harvard prof fly in, we had UBC prof fly in to teach us some fundamental business skills. But really, it's just everything you learn on the job. I mean, my experience in Malaysia about working 80 or 100 hours a week and giving that level of responsibility as an intern taught me what I needed to run a business myself.
What motivated you to go this far?
So again, what's your needle? My needle is making the biggest impact in a certain amount of time, and it's also about learning. And I think, so I tried a corporate job. There's nothing wrong with the corporate. So I think one thing is there's actually nothing wrong with being an accountant, and people just keep making fun of accountants. And being an entrepreneur is not that great. I don't encourage being an entrepreneur over being an accountant. It's not for me. And it's just, if I corporate job, I feel like it's wasting my brain. And some people are okay doing PowerPoint if they want to do Excel work. I want to do something that actually, again, my Malaysia job, I want to do something with bigger impact. And then in the time where it does get really, really hard, and you have this founder depression, which is a real thing, it's good to have the ecosystem supporting you. And I think that's why I said be part of the ecosystem, be part of the community. Yeah.
Do you ever plan out your life 5 years or 10 years ahead?
I used to. I actually did a TEDx talk about the importance of not planning. And I think that the whole talk premise is when I was in second year then, and people were asking what do you want to do after graduation? I was consulting. And then people were the first year, what do you want to do after graduation? And then in high school, what do you want to do when you grow up? And then people it goes all the way back to kindergarten. What do you want to be when you grow up? Who knows, right? I never thought I would work in Malaysia or Paris or Beijing or any of this. NEC 36 is something I wanted on my radar for a very, very long time, but I never thought I was going to do spectroscopy science experiments. I still don't even know what that is. like I'm much more like take life as comes, because you never know what comes your way. But I think it's important to have like an ultimate goal in mind. Like where do you see yourself in kind of 5-10 years? Like what do you want? So I actually don't know what job I want. So I'm in the stage right now figuring out what my next step is. I have no idea what I want to do in 5-10 years, but I know that I want to do something that creates impact, one thing, has autonomy and freedom. That's something that's very, very important to me, and I need to be surrounded by great people. If not, I'm leaving. So like one of the things I have mentioned right now, my principal job searching is that let me meet the team. If I like them, I'll go interview. If I don't, I don't bother to interview. It's about finding people and not finding a job. That's just my kind of principle now.
Thank you so much.